How do you stop reacting to your life and create it instead? The answer lies in very special but very specific spiritual rituals that you can use every day to start aligning your intention with your behavior and get out of that cycle of reactivity, stress, ungroundedness, and frustration. Join me for the podcast where we're going to dive into how to do this and when, and how we can actually help shift your life into something that is going to be what you're wanting rather than a reaction to what you're not looking for anymore.
You're listening to the Intuitive Mastery Podcast. Hi, I'm Kate Connolly, and with over 15 years of intuitive healing and teaching experience, I'm here to help you celebrate intuition and value authenticity to create a world where you have the freedom to live your best life. This podcast is here to teach you how to apply the principles of spirituality, healing, and mindset to have true and lasting joy, all from the inside out. This is the Intuitive Mastery Podcast.
Welcome to the podcast today. In the Intuitive Mastery School, we've just stepped into a whole new series, and this is on morning routines. Now, it sounds really simple and it sounds like, something that everybody does, but in actuality, almost nobody does this. And the reason it is so important is because we have only a couple of times per day where our intuition and our spiritual connection into source is super open and super reactive, right? And that is just before we go to sleep and just as we wake up. Now, we have two choices. When we wake up, sometimes we have kids, partners, routines, meetings, all sorts of things, and that can kind of throw us out for the day. Absolutely. But when we learn to start to consciously create our days, we can do one of two things. We can choose to get up and join the chaos straight away, or we can choose to set intentions and tones. We can put our phone away and instead we can breathe. We can get our nervous system aligned with our brain waves, and we can actually start to connect in with our guides, with our angels, and start to create the intention and the tone of what we want to bring in. And the reason this is so important is because that first few minutes up to that first hour of the day sets the tone for everything that follows for the rest of the day. If you begin your morning rushed or scattered or absorbing stress, that becomes how you tend to follow your whole day unless you find some way to consciously reset. And let's be fair, most of us don't have time for that. Once we're up and going, that's it for the day. We can reset, absolutely. But like I said, our ability to kind of really get into that absolute connection into spirit straight away isn't there. You have to spend time kind of de-escalating the mind and kind of going back into that intuitive channel before you can reset. So rather than trying to reset during the day, give yourself the opportunity to spend a few minutes as you wake up when that channel is already open. Now, when we're in that state, when we first wake up, our brain waves are what we call the Theta state. So when you listen to people like Joe Dispenza, Jose Silva, they talk about this brainwave state that is absolutely open to the quantum field, to all possibilities, to manifesting, to our guides, angels, all of those things, right? So that state is in the quantum field, but our brain must reflect that, and that is the Theta state. Now, our brain is naturally in the Theta state because as we come out of the Delta sleep state, we move through Theta into our waking mind. So as we're waking, we're still in that very receptive, very open opportunity to enter the quantum field. So why don't we? Why don't we just use that to actually step into what it is that we want to create? Okay? So when you intentionally align your energy first thing in the morning when you're in that state, you can create clarity and flow and a sense of deep inner peace like you've never had before. And when I do this regularly, my entire life shifts. when I have the intention and tone that I'm setting for the day and I start it from a place of joy before I'm even out of bed, then everything tends to follow that. Now, bearing in mind that if you're a female, if you have a nuclear family that you're living with, the tone needs to be set by you. I really wish that wasn't true. I really wish I didn't have that pressure, but that is actually the truth. So your energy, how you show up, dictates the energy of the rest of the family. Okay, you may not like it, but that is just simply the truth. So when you have this very powerful routine that you can do for yourself, you can also then start to help aiding intentions for your family, intentions for your home, intentions for your career, for finances, for relationship stability. There are so many different things that you can put out there, and we are exploring that in depth in the Intuitive Mastery School at the moment. If you are interested in joining, we have live classes every week with coaching, live channel meditations, and a community of like-minded, like-hearted souls who are really here to just make the most of their lives. They want to learn how to have clarity, peace, and alignment in their lives, and they want to step out of that sense of overwhelm. And when you have a weekly spiritual routine where you can show up and have a supportive community and you can learn new things and you can deepen that sense of self and deepen your intuitive responses, then your life tends to get better and better. You can create more alignment with your relationships. You can feel clearer with your workspace and how to deal with the relationships at work as well. You can get clearer on how to create abundance, and your health tends to get better and better and better. So as you live a life that's more intuitively aligned and connected into spirit, and you start living your soul-aligned life, then that's when joy is really possible. I don't know how you can create a joyful life unless you learn how to connect in deeply to yourself first. So if you're interested in doing that, please come and join us. There's so much for you to learn and get out of this, and find a way to kind of deeply connect into yourself every day. And the results speak for themselves. People who come into the school are able to make much more intuitive decisions. They have much more trust in their business choices. They tend to be able to take leaps of evolution and change and success like they never have before. They're stepping into greater and greater levels of responsibility. I've got a few entrepreneurs that are really just kicking goals in their workspaces. I've got people that are creating better and more authentic relationships. I've got people that are moving and making great strides in their health. And all of those successes are because they're learning how to trust themselves, trust their choices, and start living an intuitive, spirit-led life. So I'd love to have you. If you want to come in, the link is at the bottom. So when we're talking about the energy of the morning creating the day, remember that we always have a choice. We have a choice in our life to be reactive or intentional. And there's very few moments in the day where you have such a great opportunity and gap to produce this as when you first wake up. So if you have that moment, even 2 minutes in bed before you get out, and you have that opportunity to set intentions, I invite you to give it a go. Just breathe, just slow your breath down, even just for 2 minutes, and ask yourself what it is that you want to create for the day. What's the tone that you want to set? What's the energy that you want to have? And give yourself permission to dream it. Spend time thinking about it, feeling it, bringing it through your body, and give yourself the opportunity to decide differently. Decide what it is that you want to have rather than what you think you should be doing. So I understand how difficult that can be for some people. I have 4 kids. 2 of them are under 5. And it's actually extremely difficult some mornings to create that. Last night, my 3-year-old came in the middle of the night. She ended up sleeping with us for most of the night. So first thing in the morning, she's right in my face. And thank goodness, she's also quite used to me going, shh, I'm meditating. And she'll lie there. She'll just lie there and cuddle me, and she'll just feel the energy of it. It took a while for her to kind of learn how to do that without interrupting. But these days it only takes me about 2 to 4 minutes to kind of breathe, set an intention, connecting with my guides. I have 3 or 4 very specific questions that I ask every day. And then if I want to kind of expand it, I'll do it when she's not around. But even just 2 to 4 minutes to ask very intentional questions so that I can set my day up how I want to. And she'll just lie there with me, and she's used to it now. So it took a bit of time, but she's very respectful. The 5-year-old usually doesn't bother me, but if both of them are there, I might put on a guided meditation so that they can listen to the guided meditation. And during that guided meditation, I'll just tune in to my own questions and set up the intention. So it is possible to do it with kids. It can be tricky sometimes, but if you set up that routine with them, it usually becomes something that they also really enjoy. So that's just something to bear in mind if you're worried about having that time for yourself. So, like I said before, when you set up these morning routines, your brain is in that theta state. So it's super receptive, it's deeply intuitive, and what you focus on then programs your subconscious for the entire day. Okay, so basically, we are telling our subconscious mind how we can set our day up and how we want to create whatever it is that we're creating for the day. Now, the subconscious mind is most receptive when we're in that theta state or alpha state, which is just a slightly more active brainwave. But what you'll tend to find is that if you're trying to do that during the day in the go, 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 do mental state, it's actually really, really difficult. It kind of has to all be programmed when you're in that receptive quantum field. Okay, the subconscious mind can be reprogrammed, but we usually have to do that when we're deeply in meditative state, or when we first get up in the morning, or just before we go to sleep. Okay, so just bear that in mind, because this is such an important element to consider when we're trying to set intentions for ourselves. Okay, so you're going to find that your intuition, that soul whisper that you have, you can actually have full conversations with your own intuition. Your intuition / higher self or your guides, they come in and they can actually hold that energetic space for you. And when you have that calmer brainwave, it's incredibly powerful. And you'll find that you can actually have full conversations when you do it often enough. Now, remember, nerves that fire together wire together. This is a Joe Dispenza sentence, but it also comes from other neurologists and people that have worked on this level before. And what you'll find is that it has to, over time, be something that you bring in as a habit pattern. So if I was wanting to run a marathon, and I ran 10 kilometers one day and then nothing for 6 months, probably won't make it. I don't think I'd make that whole marathon. It's really, really difficult to do that. But if I spent 6 months working my way up day after day after day to try and get to that marathon length, I'm much more likely to be able to succeed. And I just want to invite you to remember that your intuition and your spiritual gifts are going to be the same thing. If you want to get really, really good at tuning in and asking questions and setting intentions and getting answers, it is a practice. It is something that you need to do over time. But if you have the right tools, if you have the right meditations, if you ask the right questions, and if you repeat that regularly, you will see very tangible differences in your life. So the biggest thing that I have to say is, for me, there's a sense of feeling much calmer and clearer when I have meditated, when I've set my intentions, when I'm sitting more in that 5D space versus the 3D space. So again, we're moving out of that chaos of the 5 senses, and we're moving into like this quantum space of possibility, right? From the 5D space, our life becomes a reflection of what we think and feel, and that becomes a moment-to-moment thing. So as we set an intention, as we set the tone for the day with a morning ritual or a morning meditation, what we're actually doing is we're setting up a direct reflection for the universe to give back to us what we're asking for. And I find it really, really powerful when I do it regularly, because when my children are yelling or if they're worried about something, I can absolutely de-escalate them about 10 times faster if I've done this versus if I haven't. I also seem to be able to eat better, exercise more efficiently. I seem to be able to make better business decisions. I'm able to tune into exactly what I need to do for the day and make it happen really quickly. And if I don't do it, if I spend a while and I move out of that morning routine, I feel like I haven't actually properly grounded myself and made myself calm and clear. And as you guys know, especially with kids, especially with partners, if you've got a stressful business environment, you have to put your oxygen mask on first. And most of us forget that really crucial part. So if we forget our own oxygen mask, what we're actually doing is we're setting ourselves up for a huge amount of stress, uncertainty, overwhelm, and the way that we react then becomes that mirror back to us as well. So if I'm going to be super reactive to my kids, they're not going to calm down. They're not going to relax. They're not going to feel safe. They're not going to move through whatever they're struggling with. They're actually going to push back really, really hard. Same with business. If I push really hard and get quite reactive at work, those relationships are actually going to really suffer. My career is going to suffer. Everything's going to be so much harder. All right. So what you'll also find is that when you are calmer, when you've set that intention, you're also much more likely to protect your energy rather than absorb stress as well, because you've already set up a conscious container for yourself. And it's actually very, very powerful. You can also kind of sit more intuitively rather than overthinking. So you're going to be in a much more calm, heart space, heart open, connected energy, which stops you from overthinking, second guessing, and going to anxiety and stress as well. Okay. So when you start your day, when you're aligned, you're intentional, you're spiritually connected, the flow of life, that tends to be much, much more effortless than if you haven't done it. So if you're interested, just sit with yourself in the morning and just give yourself a few breaths and give yourself the opportunity to set an intention, right? What's one small shift that you can do in the morning to align your energy first? Is it breathing? Is it doing a bit of yoga? Is it setting intentions? Is it writing in a journal? What is it for you? Give yourself a moment to just sit and figure that out for yourself. How is it that I can set this tone for myself? And what would it take? What's the one thing that I could change to bring this in for me as a reality? I want to be that calm, healthy, functional mother. I want to be that really positive, energetic, compassionate coworker. I want to be someone who's feeling healthy, strong, and fit without putting enormous amounts of effort in and second guessing every single thing that I do. How do I do that when I haven't set that intention, when I'm just living unconsciously? It's actually really, really difficult. So I want you to give yourself that opportunity to just ask, like, what would it take? Just practice for a little while and see what happens to your life. If you want to deep dive into this and join us in our Intuitive Mastery School, we're going to be doing deep dives into what we do for business and family constellations and how we set up gratitude energies and the questions that we ask our guides. We're going to deep dive into that really, really deeply. If you want to join us, you're more than welcome. We do have live classes at 6 a.m. on Wednesdays, Sydney time. Outside of that, you can do this by breathing and relaxing and giving yourself even just 2 minutes before you get out of bed to set your intentions. Okay, I hope that was really helpful. Sending lots of love to you and yours, and I will see you next time.